I'm guessing my headset is not plugged into the charger for some reason. It's a great start. Hold on. There we go. Anyways, I wanted to talk about, I made a video a while back, not long back, even from this video, which was released 13 hours ago. So I was kind of conflicted whether I should react to this, but I keep getting comments of people. I know that Xbox owns the IP, but what people are getting impressions on my video talking about uh, people thinking that Bethesda lost Fallout, because they're all getting the impression, and of course it's sadly like hardcore Obsidian Fallout fans that are trying to give the impression, this feels like the cyberpunk crap all over again, of not only their hatred towards Bethesda like stuff, but that Bethesda can't make any other Fallout games, and they also give the, and this is mostly amongst the audience of said YouTube channels, though then again with their freaking thumbnails, it also gives a very opposite impression and just a very stupid one. But thank goodness JuiceHead not only goes into more detail where I kind of, in the later half, actually most of the video is me eventually going over people basically because of that one Luke Stevens thing where they they think that advertising the next Elder Scrolls as an RPG is going to go poorly for them, when I feel like people do have the wrong impression of what RPGs are, and it's really stupid, and I go over that half with my friend. But when it came to this, a lot of people seemed to think that I was trying to say something else with my video, or even calling out the credibility of me, and I had to report the dude that did that crap. It just felt like harassment. So his comment is no longer on there. But nonetheless, let's get into this. Uh, I I can't technically react to stuff. Is this gonna have? This is probably gonna have show footage, isn't it? I'll keep it small or whatever,
Did Bethesda
so
just
that
lose
it
control of the
has
Fallout franchise? Are they now
this
just
stuff
relegated
around
to
it.
making Elder Scrolls games into eternity? Over the last week, I've had a lot of conversations and have my own
Maybe I
perspective
should
on what is
skip through
becoming a
parts of it.
very hot topic among Bethesda fans. Because
He shows a lot of the thumbnails here that a couple of the ones that I showed in mine. I also showed this one at one point. But I think it was that one. That looks like a different subtitle, though. That was in the thumbnail for me when I showed it. Oh, and then that one, which was more recent. But yeah, look at how these videos are making it look, though. Like, don't you get the impression that they're saying as a definitive that they lost it? Like, they're saying they lost, they lost. Frickin' Todd just lost Fallout. So is it not giving the impression the opposite of what some of the stuff they're saying in the videos? These thumbnails are terrible just because it feels like they're a lie from some of the impressions actually given, as well as the other things they're going about, and because of certain die-hard audiences uh, who are more fan of the Interplay / Obsidian Fallout stuff. And because of this, I also mentioned in that video, Bethesda can still make Fallout games if they want to, and he's about to go into them
yeah,
making more
Bethesda
Fallout. I'm
did
also
just sort of
gonna
lose Fallout,
Renegades
but not
react to this and
completely and definitely
pause
not to the degree many
and
people are
talk over
saying
at
or even
times.
hoping for. The biggest question facing Xbox and really Bethesda right now is where are the games?
I'm
Xbox
not a
closed their
fan of how
$7.5 billion acquisition of
clean
ZeniMax, the parent
those
company of Bethesda, back in
mods make it look.
2021. So at that point, Xbox owned Fallout, as well as a lot of developers who could work on a Fallout game. And while we have heard how Xbox wanted Fallout games or even canceled a Fallout game, the reality was Phil
I
Spencer
feel
was
like
the
I
head of
should
Xbox and
skip
gave
some of
some
this.
studios, namely Bethesda Game Studios and Todd Howard.
So he mostly goes over. So maybe I should skip part of this. I don't want this to be too long, but he basically goes over that Phil Spencer's buddy with him, and they let Bethesda do what they wanted with their IPs. And then when Asha came in, they sat on them too much, and now Asha's trying to fix stuff around. Though I wouldn't put a big hope into Asha either, because this is a little early for people to be putting so much faith into her already. Like, she could still turn out. I mean, Phil Spencer started out great, didn't he? Or at least he was somewhat great for the company. And then years later, and you have to give them that much time basically, they then, you know, any good company can still fall. I believe that there'll sadly be one day where From Software will eventually fall from their grace of their great games, or even Larian Studios or Hideo Kojima's company. Eventually, even they will eventually fall, sadly, and then have to have new management. There's going to be those times, and sadly, you can't always avoid it. So you got to think it's probably going to end up the same way. But let's hope that with the good stuff that can be brought, that they can hold on to that for a while longer. But I mean, there's still bad things going on. I mean, with he also mentions that there was a lot of employees lost recently, and he goes in better depth than I ever can. But I feel like people kind of saw that as a good thing, weirdly, where people got laid off, and it's like, aren't there other times where people complained about like layoffs as being a bad thing in general? So why are they kind of cheering for this? This seems a bit backwards for people to be looking at this. And then we have the recent event of like somebody's entire account of like games and purchases and such being deleted altogether through Xbox. And though they're trying to fix that right now, that's still not good. That is not a good look. There's a lot of dumb things going on, even with Asha there already. So even if it's not Asha's fault, don't completely put your freaking faith in her like that quickly, bro. Come on. Come on. And Obsidian can also fail. Obsidian's no different from any of the other companies I just freaking mentioned. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the first Outer Worlds. Avowed has some problems. I'm glad that it's kind of feels like they're trying to find their footing, and Outer Worlds 2 was finally that game that combined the good elements of both Avowed and Outer Worlds to finally make a really good game, and I do like the grounded games as well. But they still needed to find their footing in some places, and they still had a lot of flaws that kind of just made both Outer Worlds 1 and Avowed mediocre in my eyes, or at least just slightly above average. So even they're not going to be able to avoid some mess stuff.
A ton of autonomy. They were just free to work on what they wanted to, which for Bethesda was Starfield and then The Elder Scrolls 6. And even further, performing
Yeah,
well
like
financially. It was revealed they had just a 3% profit margin as a company, and even more concerning, new investments were reportedly losing money to a fairly major degree. This is when Asha Sharma comes in as the new face meant to fix things, and after taking a look at things, the first major decision was a reset. And more so than ever before,
I'm
this was
trying to
a
also
major
avoid
change
footage
for
of the
Bethesda Game
Fallout show because
Studios.
I think he
BGS was fairly
shows
immune to some of these
as
past
as well as another reason is I do genuinely want people to watch the whole video for themselves, so I'm probably gonna skip around anyways, because this came out like 14 hours ago, and I don't want to show like the whole thing. So yeah,
rounds of layoffs. Not
but I
completely,
want to
people were
show more
definitely let
so like
go, but
what.
largely immune. But as we've pretty much all heard now, this time around that wasn't the case. Bethesda Game Studios was majorly impacted by the most recent round of layoffs across all 4 of their locations. And this includes massive cuts, which, well, yeah, these are brutal. At the same time, this feels like a major case of mismanagement getting called out on the side of Bethesda and maybe Todd Howard. We don't know all of the details, but ZeniMax gets bought and Bethesda Game Studios specifically seems to get a really awesome setup. They have more freedom to work on this super ambitious space game. Starfield reportedly had some development issues, so it did get some
I gotta keep
delays,
it
as well
small.
as
I
a few
forgot.
extra years of dev time, and it seems like that was
Sorry
thanks to the
about that.
Xbox buyout. Starfield being something that Todd Howard has reportedly been wanting to do for decades now. And while this is going on, Xbox is even like, hey, we'll give you complete control of your other franchises and won't start using them for games with other studios, which is something many people wanted to happen and many companies would have done. But all the while, other things are going on. The fall TV show was new Fallout games, but apparently they were also turning down outside studios from working on them, or at least Obsidian. Chris Avellone reported that Obsidian pitched several Elder Scrolls spin-offs in the past, but none of these were accepted. And even more recently, a Fallout game was pitched and reportedly shut down. But reportedly, in a crazy twist of fate, that turned into Josh Sawyer's game, which is now turning back into a Fallout game. So basically, Josh Sawyer pitches a Fallout game, this gets shut down by Bethesda, so he goes on to work on something similar to Fallout, but not quite the same thing. But then Asha Sharma steps up, and now that other game is cancelled, then he's back working on Fallout, finally. And this is where things definitely get a bit tricky. Jason Schreier does confirm the Fallout thematically. Previously, Sawyer had been directing a role-playing game that was similar structurally and thematically to Fallout, but was not part of the franchise. Chris Avellone isn't a perfect source, but he is our only source saying that Bethesda is shutting down these games. So it sort of just comes down to his word. Although, even Todd Howard has mentioned the desire to keep things internal, and of course, we have no other Fallout games right now, so it does seem pretty plausible that Bethesda wasn't letting anyone else work on it. Or I guess really, Xbox was letting Bethesda tell other people they couldn't work on it. And to me, this is really the part of the criticism I agree with the most. From the outside looking in, and we do really have to appreciate, we have very limited knowledge here, especially with Bethesda. They're a very secretive company, but it seems like Xbox left Bethesda Game Studios to do their own thing, and they just didn't do anything with Fallout, and potentially made sure nobody else was doing anything with Fallout either, except Virtuous with a remaster. During the time this was all going
Yeah, the other thing to think about is the remaster. They're still working on that as well as they can still potentially make a Fallout 5 if they wanted to. So that's not off the table. And with the things he's about to say soon, he not only says that stuff, but he says there might even be other Bethesda. And this was actually, I think I brought this up too in a video recently. I can't remember if it was in a live stream, but it might even be that same video or the video I made on the comments after that, where people didn't think about it could still be published by Bethesda, or certain people like Todd Howard could still be involved with the Fallout projects afterwards, even the one that Obsidian's running.
all of this. And that brings us to today. Under Asha Sharma, there is definitely a change up happening. It's been reported by Jason Schreier that Obsidian is now working on a Fallout game led by Josh Sawyer,
And
the very same director.
I think because they've been announced to be working on a Fallout game, that the Obsidian Fallout fans are going crazy, and they see this as a onboard jumping point because of this news to not only kind of push people's direction in swaying in their what they want to see and what they like and such. They want people to see a certain path and to basically hate Bethesda, but hate Bethesda. And it not only feels like they're almost like wanting to spread rumors, but it's just very disgusting. It's the same thing that happened almost with the cyberpunk stuff, where where the audiences of people were trying to push people into cyberpunk and liking it and stuff, and seeing it as a great masterpiece, going into people's chats. My friend was in a chat room where somebody was like, oh, with the new update at the time, and this happened a lot every time an update came out for frickin' cyberpunk. The game's better now, the game's better now because of the new update. It's like, no, it's not. And then when the DLC was coming in, the new DLC for cyberpunk, that's where they saw jumping on board to utilize that situation to push the love for their beloved game, even if it didn't wholly deserve that love. I actually came to like Fallout New Vegas a lot over the years, and it's even like, other than Fallout 2, it's one of my favorite Fallouts. Even though I have a hard time trying to pick a Fallout game that I truly really like. They all have things I like about them equally, but or differently, or even things that I don't like about them uh, similarly or differently. But yeah, it's just ridiculous when I think that
Director of
just
Fallout
sorry,
New
I think
Vegas.
that
And from what
fan
I've heard,
base
this came
is.
as a surprise to Bethesda.
I've just kind of now. Not every fan base is toxic or anything. Definitely not. There's bound to be great people in fan bases. There are some awesome people, But man, do the bad people in those fan bases stand out in such awful ways, and it almost makes me just like feel bad and almost want to hate those fan bases because of how disgusting those few individuals are. It just sadly stands out more than the good, and I feel like it needs to die down. I feel like it needs to chill. And sometimes I also think that like you're giving yourselves a bad impression. Do you really want people to have this outlook on you? Do you really want to look bad? Like whether you see it as that or not, you are technically making yourselves look bad by doing stupid stuff like this. Stop manipulating other people. Stop trying to sway their opinions in your directions. Let people decide for themselves. Piss off. Seriously. It's getting freaking annoying. And this is the second time I've seen a fan base do this with a video game. But there are various times I've seen it with other stuff. It's freaking ridiculous. It's manipulative. It's disgusting. Piss off. Seriously. Now, you know what? Since I never say the F word, you'll know that I mean this at the bottom of my heart, but fuck off. Seriously.
Bethesda. This news caught a
Fuck up
lot of
your
people off
ass.
guard, which only reflects
Yep,
more about the
frickin'
seeming
stop that
loss of
crap.
franchise control that is happening
Seriously.
under Asha Sharma to Bethesda. Or is it? Because I also think this loss of Fallout
Take a frickin' chill pill, take a couple steps back, and piss off. Let people decide for themselves. Choices. You love games with choices, right? Then let people have choices. You ironic, frickin' hypocritical mofos. Seriously.
is
Look
massively
like hypocrites
overreported,
to
at least from
yourselves,
my
even,
understanding. And I
with
mean, hey,
stuff like
there's
that.
even evidence of this in the initial Bloomberg article leaking the Obsidian Fallout
I'm
game,
so glad
because, well,
his
yeah,
video
Josh
exists
Sawyer
for
and
this kind of
Obsidian are
thing.
making a new Fallout game. Jason Schreier confirms it's going to also be co-developed with Bethesda Game Studios, or at least
Yeah,
worked
here it
on by
is.
Bethesda Game Studios. We have literally no details on this game,
So Bethesda is still going to be involved with this stuff, even the ones that Obsidian are probably involved in.
except that Obsidian, Josh Sawyer, and Bethesda Game Studios are involved. And Todd Howard has been the executive producer on everything Fallout for over a decade now. I think what we're seeing is Bethesda losing complete autonomy over their franchises here. Some business decisions are being made, such as with putting Obsidian on Fallout. But even from this initial report,
But what people are getting at, people are thinking in a different direction with that. They think because they lose the anatomy that they lose it as a whole. Hence why we get the dumbass thumbnails and such, as well as the dumbass fans that are just like, oh, they've totally lost it. They're never going to make another Fallout game ever again. It's like it's almost like they get that impression instead of the actual impression that it should be giving. That's what I'm trying to get at. And that's not the only soul thing I was trying to get at. It's stupid as
it
hell.
seems like Bethesda will be involved creatively. I don't think Todd Howard and Bethesda are losing that aspect of Fallout, and frankly, why would they? They haven't been working on Fallout,
Exactly.
but from Asha's perspective, they seem to know what they're doing with overseeing the Fallout TV show, and I would expect at least a similar situation here, which, remember, Todd Howard was literally setting boundaries for the Fallout TV show showrunners. That's a good amount of power he will hypothetically have for the Obsidian Fallout game. And even further, all of the news we've heard around ZeniMax as a company is that now they're going to more collectively be focusing on their big IPs, including Fallout. All of this is still early days, so time will definitely tell, but right now it seems like the plan is to work on Fallout and the Elder Scrolls more actively in tandem. Not only those two games, other things as well, but more so that we can get both Fallout and Elder Scrolls games from each of those franchises, faster. And you just have to imagine Todd Howard, the executive producer on everything Fallout for the last 20 years, except for one game, will also be very involved in the upcoming Fallout projects, both the one from Bethesda and also the one from Obsidian. Because, yeah, Fallout 5 is still very likely coming from Bethesda, and if anything, is probably getting even faster development now, because what remains of the other studios at Bethesda Softworks may very well be involved, like id or even ZeniMax Online Studios. It's not totally
Okay. I don't think we need to get into the layoffs part, but I want to keep stuff for you guys to watch in the video. and not go over too much. But I wanted to just have him bring out some things as well as I talk between kind of a reaction video, though you don't really see my face, so not really. But yeah, I totally agree with his video. This is the best video on this subject. All those other videos feel like there's truth to them, but there's a grain of stupidity to it as well. And especially in the thumbnails and the audience of the perceived videos and the fan bases, which could be one and the same, depending. But yeah, that's where kind of the places I'm trying to get at with that one video and even the other one, where there's also people saying like, I guess nobody's actually saying that they don't ZeniMax doesn't own the IP, but I had that one like there are definitely people. I had that one guy trying to call out the credibility of us because of that. I'm pretty sure, in our Discord, which is just a friends Discord between personal friends. And I was just talking to him on the subject and trying to get his perspective and stuff on things, and it was a simple thing you could have frickin' looked up for yourself. So the fact that I even had to do the link and everything shows that there are clearly people who don't have the common sense to know that crap is out there to frickin' find for themselves. So yeah, of course that's gonna piss me off and be stupid as hell. The fact that I even have to frickin' link that. And I'm definitely linking this as well as in that previous video. Because, goddamn, I'm finally glad somebody like JuiceHead came out here and makes this stuff look freaking silly. These previous YouTubers, they didn't even need to make the videos they did. You could have just let JuiceHead be the only one. JuiceHead made the best video of all of them. He had the best context, and he had the best content, as well as he went into the details of it, the nitty gritty, in a much better, more understandable way than the other people where they made those dumbass thumbnails. Plus, his thumbnail is more of a question formed as a question and is just much better made than the ones that feel like they're definitively trying to say they lost Fallout or whatever, like both in the thumbnail and the freaking title. Because once again, let's see these titles again when I have this typed in. So I'm glad his video is like one of the top ones that pops up. But yeah, Bethesda was just forced to hand over Fallout. Yes and no. Once again, Juicehead does answer that as a yes and no. Bethesda finally got punished. Also yes and no. They deserved it. This is guy just being a dick at that point. And that says Bethesda lost everything. Are these titles not giving a different impression? Oh my gosh, it's this dumbass. Okay, don't even bother with him. He is one of the awful YouTubers I do not like mentioning. And I just realized who that is. Frick that channel, by the way. Screw them. And then Todd just lost Fallout. Whoops. Just lost Fallout. Obsidian takes over. That also gives the wrong impression. Todd just lost Fallout. Yeah, that also gives the wrong impression. That's not true. Matter of fact, Todd's probably gonna be involved in the Obsidian Fallout that's coming up. And then this one, Bethesda just lost Fallout. Also not true. These thumbnails suck. They suck ass. And they give a different impression. Even if they're not exactly saying what the title itself is saying, it feels like they're trying to be definitive with the title because it's trying to. It also just feels great. These feel like titles that a journalist would come up with, and then the actual journalism of what you read is almost like entirely different. It just feels like bad journalist titles that they came up with. It sucks, in my opinion. It really sucks. Same with that goddamn Luke Stevens one where it's I find that one too because I hate that one. And like I don't know if it's Luke Stevens that came up with that or if it's because it's still part of his like channel, one of his channels. Uh, it's like ES6 RPG. I can't remember exactly what he titled it. Yeah, this the Luke Stevens clip. So also a dumbass title and thumbnail. I already went into detail why this was freaking wrong in that previous video. So calling the Elder Scrolls 6 an RPG could backfire on Bethesda. That is also just like a journalist title. Whoever the frick came up with that. Like first off, The Witcher. I talked about how The Witcher and Kingdom Come Deliverance, because they're focused on specific characters, you can't it's technically not role playing because you're forced to play those one roles. You can't entirely like create your own role. A role is something that you are technically still playing a role, but you're playing a forced role. And most role-playing games, if they're known for choices, like people seem to only understand about them instead of other things. I mean, action RPGs and JRPGs exist, and they don't have dialogue options and choices a lot of the time. So why are choices and dialogue options seen as definitively what makes an RPG? That is not true. If Ubisoft games can get away with being RPGs, like the Far Cry games and such, and the later Assassin's Creed, then why can't they? And then once again, bringing up the so mentioned, Apex is getting cyberpunk stuff. I just realized that. That's the good cyberpunk stuff. I like the anime better than I like the freaking video game. The anime is at least cool. Um, but yeah, this is a dumb title. This is not right. Like, and because Witcher is kind of bound to trying to somewhat follow the books and what the books laid out, but in video game form, and they can take some creative liberties, of course, maybe even more so than others, they're still following certain canon stuff. I mean, Ciri's the main character of the next Witcher, which means they definitively said which ending of The Witcher 3 is true, as well as that new DLC is probably going to go more into it, and why it plays out the way it does. But also in the last two books, I believe, is where Ciri kind of takes over for the main storyline, as she's kind of like the new main character. So, yeah, they are still technically have to follow things to some extent. There's still probably going to be creative liberties, even a lot of them, but to some degree, they're still restricted because of those restrictive characters they've been given to follow. If it was to be a Witcher RPG, it would have let me choose to play as Triss, Yennefer, Ciri, or Geralt. Hell, even even Dandelion and stuff. One's a bard, two are like sorcerers or sorceress, and two are witchers. Those are all different roles. But because we're only stuck with the Witcher characters, we're only playing the role of a Witcher. Yes, one has elder blood and some teleporting time travel powers, but still, you're playing the role of a freaking Witcher, and that's that. You are not doing something else. Take Mass Effect or, well, Baldur's Gate in the picture there. For example, you can actually create your own roles, how you can play a different race if you want to. They have their different stats and abilities. There you go. A role that you can play in a freaking game. You have to freaking bring up the Ackman thing from his Diablo 4 video. Gee, I wonder what role I should play from this freaking game. It's just insane. He's mostly answering from a comment, but come on. It's an RPG. Frickin' shut the frick up. And if my previous video, where is it? It's under videos. this one. This is the one where we also talk about the RPG thing. And also, when I say people are gullible, you don't, I'm not specifically saying that frickin' just the people making those titles are. I even go into how their audiences are being dumbasses over this thing. So, frick off. And yeah, you know what? Even though I am having a mixture of both of them here, I think I'm mostly pointing towards the audience, or at least a certain fan base when it comes to this. Now that I see certain direction these things are taking, it's just dumb. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video or stream. I will see you next time for some other games. I finally got some storage. Some things deleted off my storage. I had freaking apparently Arknights and Enfield were both taking up so much of my storage space that I just finally found their goddamn sources on my console, my PC here, and freaking just straight up wiped them so that I can get that storage back because they were hogging up so much of the storage of my PC, and I do not care for either of those games. I do not give a crap. So I just wanted them gone. And I'm glad I got that storage back. Now I can download and play more games. And I'm still planning on getting more storage, but yeah, I'm just glad that I got that storage back and I can have more games downloaded on here because that was freaking ridiculous. Frickin' anime games, am I right? They just frickin' steal your goddamn storage away. They need to stop doing that crap. Find a way to frickin' lighten the load on that kind of garbage. Anyways, I hope you found something interesting here. I'm so happy that JuiceHead finally made a video that is technically going over, but in far greater detail than I can, kinda what I said. Kinda. I was a lot shorter with the stuff I said in that, and then I had to comment towards other people, probably even longer things than what I said in the video. And then, yeah, I'm just so happy his video exists. Go check it the frick out. Uh, I have it linked in the description of this live stream. And if you're going to also keep in mind, if you're going to have an opinion that's going to try and harass me, I'm going to report it. Once again, I do not see if you're going to use your opinion to harass somebody at the same time. It's just not worth hearing out your opinion. In my personal opinion, it is not worth hearing it out. If you're going to use it as a platform to harass the person. And I know I was saying, like, I'm sure somebody's going to take that out of context from me saying the F-bomb stuff earlier. But that stuff wasn't towards the people making the comments. That was towards because I'm pissed off about these fan bases doing dumbass crap. That's not the same exact situation, though. That's not the same exact people, unless they're the ones that are coming into the comments and doing that stuff. But it's still not on the same basis from what they're actually doing or saying. So, or how they're utilizing it. As well as it's not specific to an extent of just these specific individuals. Because I still made it known that there are good people within every community, every fan uh, base. There are still great people, but those few people, those few individuals that stand out in just that really disgusting way, yeah, just do not like them. And they piss me off that much. I'm sure they piss other people off that much too. But sometimes they just don't see that kind of stuff's coming, and I hate manipulative people. Absolutely, excuse me, bleh, 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 absolutely disgusting. That is some of the worst people, other than, of course, pretentious and or uh, just selfish people, which It can also be a combination of those. Oops, sorry. Combination of those things. I can never get that so it doesn't just shoot up in the red. It feels like I'm just a very quiet person, so that like if I lower this, it's just gonna be worse. I don't know what to do with this freaking audio situation that it's not gonna shoot up and be super random. I I'm not good with controlling my voice, honestly, but I hope you found things interesting in this, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. That's about it. See ya. Transform and roll out. Bye, Jimmy's mom. Woohoo! Whoops. See, I can't control it.